Hello, mixtresses and mixters. This is Mixtress Ray. You're watching Mixtress video. First of all, I just want to apologize for spamming y'all with videos all week, but I'm on vacation this week. So I'm just kind of recording videos pretty much every day. I don't have a set schedule. I mean, you guys know, sometimes I don't have videos for a few weeks, and sometimes I have 4 in a week, like this week. I used to batch record and then try to space things out so that I had videos going up once a week or so, but I'm just, I'm a process queen. I'm go with the flow. I like to just put things out there as I feel. So that's just what we're working with. And so, yeah, anyway. I am doing a VR, and I am sorry, I don't know who started this VR, but I'm doing the VR of deck delights and deterrents. So I'm going to show you examples of things that I like when decks do and things that I don't like when decks do. So, how are we going to start this? Let's start with intentional borders. So that's something that I like. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too jarring. I just changed my total angle here because this way I can see what I'm showing you much better. Okay, yes, I'm happy with that. Okay, so examples of, I don't think I pulled every single example for all of these things because I just was too scattered to do all of that, but these are some examples of what I would call intentional borders. So I don't mind borders on cards. In fact, I kind of prefer cards with borders because that way, whenever they start getting real scuffed up on the edges and stuff, it's not actually marring the artwork. So this is what I would call, this is Sasarai Tarot. This is what I would call an intentional border. Every border is the same. It has these little triangle cutouts. It's very, I like when there's a very clear title on the cards. This is Marigold Tarot, and this is a lot of border. This is kind of a busy border, but there is consistency here. I'll show you, I need to find one that is a major arcana card. Here we go, to show you the difference. Sorry. Don't have this as, so every minor arcana card in Marigold has this beautiful marigold in the circle up at the top, and when it's a major arcana card, it has the number up at the top. So I like that sort of kind of my biggest deck delight is internal consistency. It's what I call internal consistency. And I'll give you an example of that in a little bit when we talk about that. But I would say that this is a very, there's even explanation in the guidebook about why she chose this border. And I just think it's beautiful. And then this is Nightmare Before Christmas. I would call that an intentional border. And then this is Dark Wood Tarot. I would call that an intentional border. And this is probably one of my very favorites, Children of Litha. Her entire deck, let me get another example. The major arcana cards will take up a little bit more of the space, but the minor arcana cards are this gorgeous oval, and the borders are color-coded to the suits. So let me just actually pause this for a second so I can pull examples of that. Okay, here you can kind of see all of the wands have this red border. All of the swords have this light blue border. The pentacles have this yellow gold border. And then the cups have this deep blue border. Okay, so intentional borders is one of my deck delights. Pull that aside. Let's see, what else do we got? I like to see diversity. So I got out what I think is probably my most diverse deck, which is Modern Witch. I like to see, even though they're all female presenting, there are lots of different body types in this deck. There are lots of different skin tones, lots of different, within the spectrum of female presenting, there's a lot of different, and probably non-binary people in this deck as well, but there's a lot of different gender representations within the spectrum of. Another deck delight for me, just while we're here, I don't mind seeing nudity. I like nudity. I don't feel really strongly about it either way. Like, if everybody's clothed in a deck, that's okay. I like nudity in a deck, but I especially, a simultaneous like delight is when I see pubic hair, and a deterrent is when I don't. So that's a good segue too. I did get out. Yes, okay. So you can't see what this card looked like before, but I added the pubic hair because for me personally, and you know, everybody's mileage varies. Like, a lot of these deterrents for me would be delights for you and vice versa, and that's totally fine. But for me personally, seeing what I would call prepubescent crotch in a naked figure is an immediate deterrent. In fact, I wouldn't have been able to work with this Hush Tarot deck if I wasn't able to add the hair. And I think it's totally fine if you alter your own deck. I think that's totally within your rights to do so. Okay, what do we have next? Intentional borders. One thing that I will say is a deterrent for me is art style inconsistency within a deck. I don't like when, for me personally, I don't want to see a deck that is, I don't have any decks to show you an example of this, but I don't like decks that have multiple artists. I don't like decks where you can see that it's all from the same artist, but it's from different points in their art style development. So you can see like some cards are like way older versus the cards that are newer. And I also don't like when a deck is created from an artist's existing work. I know that can really work for some people, but for me, I want, if an artist is going to create a tarot deck, they should be creating a tarot deck. It should not just be like, here is a collection of someone's work and we have turned it into a tarot deck. So examples of that would be Beautiful Creatures Tarot with Jasmine Beckett Griffith's artwork, and Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot, which I know both of those decks are really meaningful to a lot of people, and there are definitely some great things about those decks. So no shade if you like those decks. Just for me personally, I need to be able to look at the imagery and know what the card is trying to say without necessarily looking at the title, if that makes sense. So art style inconsistency really bothers me. And another example of art style inconsistency for me would be Star Spinner Tarot, because it looks to me like Trungles, the artist, spent a lot of time on, you know, about a third of the cards in the deck, half of the cards in the deck, and then the other half he just rushed through, or they just rushed through. I don't know how they identify. So that is a deterrent for me. In fact, I have that deck in my purgatory drawer right now, because I just can't get past that. I just don't like seeing, you know, like when I'm pulling a spread and there's like a card that you can tell that they were very thoughtful about and spent a lot of time on. It's like you can tell when an artist doesn't care about a certain card, you know, like if, and we all have that, like there could be like, you know, certain cards that like don't particularly resonate with us individually. Like every artist I'm sure has that, like where they're like, well, I don't feel anything in particular for Three of Cups, so I'm just gonna draw 3 cups real quick. That kind of goes into my whole deck internal consistency problem. It kind of goes with that. The art style for me needs to flow throughout the deck. I need to see that the person has created a system with their particular portrayal of the tarot. I guess that's a good segue to the deck that I think that I have that has the most internal consistency. is Children of Litha, because there are so many different ways. I probably would forget to tell you what they all are, where it's consistent. Like, all of the court cards in each of the suits they look like they're from the same family. They're a certain nationality of person. Another thing is every suit represents a season in Children of Litha. And you can actually see the progress through that season as you're flipping through that suit. Again, like I said before, the consistency of the borders. Like, all of the major arcana cards have like borders that kind of correspond with that particular card. And then, like I showed you before, the borders are the color of the suits as well. Another thing, all the minor arcana cards within the suits that aren't court cards depict animals. All of the major arcana cards depict shapeshifters, like this, where you see like sort of a mythological humanoid creature. The only actual like full humans you see in the deck are in the court cards. The gender ambiguity in the court cards, let me see if I can show you an example of that. I just love that. Like, every little aspect was very thought out in the symbolism of this deck. All the aces, I guess there are humanoid figures in the aces, I forgot about that. All of the aces, if you lay them out in a row, they're very consistent within each other, which is another thing that's kind of a delight for me, and sometimes a deterrent. If the aces, to me, don't look like they belong together when you put them side by side, that bothers me. Like, I think the way that you portray an ace should be consistent throughout all the suits. Like, if you're going to have a hand in every ace, you know? Okay, I think I skipped over a few. But, like, it's pretty equal in gender representation. Like, you get, I think there are 2 pages that present as male, and then there are 2 knights that present as female. And then, this deck is just gorgeous to me. I want to find, hold on, let me pause so I can find the one I'm thinking about. Okay, this is one of my favorite pages of Swords ever. To see a more feminine presenting person in a male body this is just gorgeous to me. I love that. And in the guidebook for this deck, in the description of the court cards, it's specifically non-binary language. It's she uses they, them, and it's awesome. Anyway, this is internal consistency is 100% in Alexandria Huntington's Children of Litha Tarot. It's 100%. Like, the borders are all consistent. Yeah, it's everything. It's everything. There's probably other bits of, I love this Nine of Cups too. There's probably other bits of this deck that, where there's more consistency that I'm not even thinking of. It's so good. It's so good. Okay, let's move on. What else we got? One of my personal deck delights is seeing animals in a deck. And Children of Litha is a good example of, like, my favorite way. Like, I'm cool with all animal decks too, but my favorite distribution of animals in decks is when, and Darkwood Tarot does this pretty well as well. I like how Alexandria Huntington did it, but I'm not showing that one just because I just showed pretty much the whole deck. I like when you get, this deck is in order, when in the minor arcana, there's just animals, and I like to see animals in like every card if I can, but I guess that's just, but I really like the way that Alexandria Huntington did it, where it's like animals in all the minor arcana cards, shapeshifters in the major arcana, and then humanoid figures in the court cards. Like, that works for me. It really does. Yeah. Okay. What else have we got? Talked about diversity, animals, intentional borders, just a deterrent for me personally. And this is something I've mentioned many times. I don't have examples to show you of this, but just a deterrent for me personally is when I see a lot of male presenting people in a deck. And it's been pointed out to me by one of my new friends that just because a person looks male doesn't mean they are. You know, so that's something that, like, just conceptually, it's helping me whenever I do have a triggering response to seeing an image of a man in a tarot card. I can just be like, okay, this person might be non-binary. This person might not identify as male. Like, it's just my psychological shit that I need to work through. Just even seeing images of men sometimes bothers me, and it's just my own stuff that I need to work with. I already said imagery not made for a tarot deck. I've got like a list up here. Okay, cardstock. I don't have a lot of deal breakers when it comes to cardstock, but the thing that bothers me the most, my children of Litha, I love almost everything about this deck except the cardstock. When it is thick and stiff and I don't like this like super rose petal finish. Like, it smells good and it's nice to the touch, but like if you're trying to like look for a card, look for a specific card, like it's taking considerable effort for me to flip through this deck because the cards just stick to each other, and sometimes there'll be two, and it's just gotten to the point, I've had this deck like almost a year and a half. I've just gotten to the point where like they're a little easier to flip through, but it used to be a lot harder. So that is a deterrent for me. I don't like this kind of cardstock. I'm not going to necessarily not buy a deck because it has cardstock I don't like. This is another example, Modern Witch. This is a very, very thick and stiff deck. And it's shiny. At least it slides. Like, you can flip through it very easily. But it's just almost impossible to riffle shuffle, which is the way that I like to shuffle. Okay, what else? So, and like, as far as like thinness, a lot of people don't like the Llewellyn type cardstock because it's so thin, but it doesn't really bother me. It's not my favorite, but it doesn't really bother me. To show you an example of my favorite cardstock ever is linen. So the kind that has this awesome texture, like just basic playing card. I mean, it's durable. It's easy to shuffle. This deck isn't overly thick. You can easily fit it in a bag and take it with you. It slides just fine. There's nothing wrong with a good linen cardstock. I don't know like GSM stuff, but I'm sure this would be on the lower end because it's a thinner deck. But it's flexible and durable, and yeah. That's an example of, I am delighted when I see like a thin linen finish deck, because I know it's going to hold up and I know it's going to be really fun to shuffle. Like, let's just do a little shuffle with this deck so you guys can enjoy it. It bends. I like it when I can bridge it. It slides. It bends. It is here for you no matter what way you want to shuffle. Good times. Noodle salad. Okay. What else do we got? Oh, okay. One of my deterrents is mirrored gold edging. Like, I don't mind the like matte gold and the sort of sparkly gold, but when it is this mirrored gold, it looks crappy so quickly. Sometimes when you first take it out of the box, it already looks crappy. It gets chipped up so easily. You see the edges of these cards? That is all the chipping. And some of that is also the type of cardstock that is chosen. Like, I haven't even used this deck excessively, and I've had it less than a year, and it's just got a lot of chips taken out of it. It's just, with this mirror finish, it just looks crappy almost immediately, and that just bugs me. Like, I don't mind a deck that looks used, but it just bugs me. I just don't like mirrored finish. I'm not a fan of gold in general, but I'm definitely not a fan of the mirror finish gold. Let's see. Oh, okay, this one, let's talk about card backs for a second. One of my pet peeves with card backs is when there's a fucking white border on the back of the cards. I just hate that. And this, sometimes you can trim a deck down, but I can't do that with this one because the titles are on the bottom and I don't want to lose the titles. And then you would end up with the border on the bottom of the back of the card. Yeah, I just don't like white borders on the back of cards. And the one thing that I've never had this deck because it would bother me too much. I would love to get the borderless Centennial Smith-Waite deck, but it has borders. It's called the borderless Centennial Smith-Waite, but there's borders on the back of the fucking cards. It drives me insane. I would love to have that deck, but I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. Like, why would you have a borderless deck that has borders on the back of the cards? Oh my god, US Games. Fix it. If they fixed it, I'd buy it. Okay. What else we got? Title inconsistency. Okay. So let me show you an example of, like, I don't like when a deck just throws titles on anywhere. So like with Muse Tarot, like, it's just based on the artwork. So they'll put the title at the bottom if they think that's the best place for it, and they'll put it at the top if they think that's the best place for it. That sort of title inconsistency bothers me because it just makes it harder to, like, know what you're looking at whenever you've got a spread. You know, you have to look for where the title's gonna be. And I also don't like when the title is like this, where it's kind of overlapping into the space around it. It's just kind of artsy and weird. Like, it looks like you just labeled it with some masking tape, which I know that was kind of what they were going for. But it just makes it harder to, like, at a glance see what card you're looking at. I wish that the titles in Muse Tarot, especially because like the artwork is collage style, and sometimes it's really busy and there's a lot of textures and there's a lot going on, which is fine, but I think you need to make the titles easy to see. And this is an example of how Chris-Anne could have made her titles consistent throughout the deck. This card has like this little slab of wood at the bottom, and then she's got the title. So it's very easy to see what the title is on this card. If the whole deck was like this, the whole masking tape thing wouldn't bother me as much. Yeah, if the whole deck was like this, it would be a lot. I would love it more. But just like when you've got a whole spread of this, and then there's the added, it kind of bugs me whenever suit names are renamed, because I have to think to myself, you know, when I'm doing a big spread, I like to count how many of each suit are there in the spread. It's like the first thing I do, so I can see if there's a predominance of one element over another. A lot of tarot readers do this, but it's hard with this deck because, first of all, you have to look with the titles. Is it at the top or the bottom? And then you have to go, okay, Page of Emotions. Emotions is cups. Okay, Three of Inspiration. Inspiration is wands. You have to, like, take that extra second to translate. And I don't necessarily categorically hate. It's not an automatic deterrent when, like, a suit name, when the suits are changed, the names of the suits are changed, but it just makes it harder, and it makes me not reach for a deck as often when you have to take that extra step in your mind to, yeah, anyway. I put as one of my deterrents, monkeys. That's just like that's just similar to like how I have a problem seeing men in my decks. I have a problem seeing monkeys in my decks because I just have like this weird averse reaction to monkeys. But that's just a personal thing. It's not a deterrent. It's fine. It is a deterrent, but it's not going to stop me from buying a deck. Another inconsistency is backs that don't match the deck, like as far as art style consistency. So this is one that like a lot of people really like this card back, but I don't. And that's Dark Goddess Tarot. For me, if you're talking about dark goddesses, like, looking at this doesn't say goddess to me. It doesn't say dark to me. It's not helping me get into, this is like, I feel like I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to see a steampunk deck. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to see like a vintage style deck, or like a nautical themed deck or something. Like seeing this sort of like compass looking star does not say goddess to me at all. I would rather see, I mean, this is just me being overly nitpicky, but I would like to see a goddess type symbol, you know, like a Triskelion or something like that. Not, this just looks too simplistic to me. It's just, this is too basic when this deck is not basic. Another deterrent for me, and this really bugs me, is when the name of the tarot deck is on the back of the cards. I just don't like it. This is a little less annoying just because it's only a D and a W, but still don't really like it. This is a little less annoying too because it's not that obtrusive and it's just an M and a W. But overall, I do not want to see the name of the deck on the back of the cards. I don't. And especially like if you name the deck after yourself and then you have your name on the back of the deck in addition to that, it's just like, ugh, I don't know, it just bugs me. It just bugs me. Okay, one of the deterrents for me is seeing heteronormativity in both the Two of Cups and the Lovers cards. I will say that I'm trying to be a little bit more open-minded about that again because, you know, just because someone looks like a male and a female doesn't mean that they are. So I'm trying to be a little bit more open-minded about that. But for me, it bugs me. So I'm going to show you some examples of Two of Cups and Lovers cards that I really do like. I love this Two of Cups from Shadowscapes because it's two women that are trees. I just love it. I love this Two of Cups from Santa Muerte because they're skeletons. Like, that's my favorite kind of Two of Cups and or Lovers card, is when you can put yourself into that couple, no matter who you are, no matter how you identify. And a way to do that is with skeletons. And another way to do that is with butts, because butts are gender neutral. And here, you can't tell anything about the identities of these people except that they're intertwined with each other. This is Sasarai Bito Tarot, by the way. And I like this because it's just hands. You can't tell gender from hands. And again, skeletons. This is my favorite Lovers card of all time from Marigold Tarot. And with animals. This is from Darkwood Tarot. You can't tell gender from seeing this part of a horse. Of course, you know, animals don't have gender anyway. And I like this because it's gender ambiguity. You know, these two people really could identify in any way. That's my favorite kind of Lovers and Two of Cups, is when you can put yourself in it no matter what gender you identify as. What else did I want to talk about? I just kind of pulled aside a few of my favorite, like, a deterrent for me personally is when a world card does not feel sufficiently exuberant. I have high expectations for world cards. I think this one does a really great job. This is from this is from Children of Litha. I think this is a gorgeous world card. There's also in the background, it's really hard to see. There's like a Triskelion. There's a little lion head. You can see the symbols. There's a world. You can see the symbols of the fixed signs. There's a lot going on with this card that I didn't even notice for the first several months using this deck. This is from Shadowscapes. I like movement in a world card. I like that feeling of just like ending a cycle and moving to the next. I have high expectations for world cards. Another thing that is a delight for me, I really like to see a gothic looking guy in the King of Cups. Oh, I need to pull my other another example of that. Hold on. Robert Smith as the King of Cups in, this is Dark Angels Tarot. So I don't know what, I think this deck is what started me on that. Just seeing Robert Smith as the King of Cups seemed like the perfect pop culture representation of King of Cups ever. So now I just like to see a goth boy in my King of Cups. And so this is Children of Litha, and I think that he's very goth looking, right? Love it. Love those eyelashes. Look at those eyelashes. Okay. That's just a thing that I like. Also with judgment cards, I like a judgment card that really changes my perception of judgment. That I don't have a specific thing that I like to see in a judgment card, but I like it to make me think. This one is from Mystic Mondays. I love it. I love this idea that like I don't know. I don't even know what it is I love about this, but I love it. Then this is Sasarai Bito. I love the idea that she's kind of cocooning herself before she reemerges. This is one of my favorite judgment cards of all time from Muse Tarot. This is my favorite card in that deck. Sometimes I think about getting rid of this deck, and then I think about this card, and I'm like, well, I can't. This is also one of my very favorite judgment cards. Just the idea that not only is she moving to a new phase in the cycle, but she is leaving her life as a human. She's going to become a vampire, and it looks totally consensual. Another favorite judgment card is the one, I don't have this deck anymore, but the one in Tarot of the Holy Spectrum. It looks like waking up from the Matrix kind of moment. I love that one. Another pet peeve of mine, deterrent of mine, is when Six of Pentacles looks like this. When it looks like a person lording over and giving other people and giving them gifts. This isn't quite as egregious as like the Smith-Waite version, but I don't have that one in front of me right now. But you know what I mean. That sort of like, I'm better than you and I'm giving you charity. I don't like that. I like to see a balance in the Six of Pentacles. This is the Six of Pentacles from Sasarai Bito. And it's one of my very favorite depictions of Six of Pentacles because they are each giving to each other the same amount that they're receiving from the other one. I think that's gorgeous. Okay, what else did I want to say? Let me pause really quick and like gather myself and see if there was anything else I wanted to share with you guys. Oh yes, I was going to mention, I didn't even write this down, which is why I was forgetting about it. I was going to mention, like, I don't like when there's a bunch of different languages on a tarot deck like a lot of Los Scarabeo decks do. I don't have any examples of that right now, but you've seen them where it's like, there's like 4 titles on each one or more, so that you've got like a title here, title here, title here, title here in the 4 different languages. First of all, I totally understand why someone would do that. Like, it's nice to be accessible to someone other than like English speakers, but I think the way that Los Scarabeo has seemed to like gone to is a good way around that. Let me know if you guys, what you guys think about that. So for example, they now, most of their decks, I think, have like they have like a depiction of the suit and then a number. This is the English number, but it's even better if it's the Roman numeral, right? And so then here you have the Queen of Cups. 2 of Swords. I like that because it makes it a lot simpler without actually having to have English on the card. So let's find an example of a Major Arcana card. I think those are in Roman numerals, aren't they? Yeah, they are. So here's the Judgment card, and it just says 20. That's it. So and in that way, like sometimes when, you know, a deck wants to rename some of the major arcana, that can be distracting sometimes if they decide to name Death, Transformation, and that doesn't really work for you. This way you get around that as well. Like, I would be fine if like pretty much every deck did this. I don't need to see that this card is called Temperance. I know that 14 is Temperance. you know? And this deck also employs the color-coded borders. Like all of the major arcana are like this gold color. All of the wands are this like gray, sort of slate gray color. All of the swords are blue. The pentacles kind of look too much like the major arcana, but it is a deeper, like more of a brassy, antiqued gold look. And then you have deep red for the cups. Anyway, I would like to know what you guys think about that, because I am just an English speaker, so most decks are already catered to me. It's my only language. So, like, I feel like it's shitty of me to even say, I don't like to see extra languages on my decks. Like, fuck off, you know? Why not? But I wonder if you guys agree that this is a good way around that. Because this way, you know, like, they don't have to print a different version of this deck for every language in every country that they want to sell this deck in. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I think that this is a good way around that, and I would be fine if every deck did that, just personally. This is Dark Angels Tarot, by the way, if I didn't say. Yeah, I guess that's all. I mean, I could probably talk about this all day long and show you every single one of my decks and tell you exactly what I like and don't like about every single one of my decks, because I'm very detail oriented. So I like really get distracted by those little things. Let's end this by showing you some of my favorite card backs that I have in front of me right now. I really like Shadowscapes. I really like Marigold. And I've said this before, I really like Santa Muerte. I've said this before, I really like a reversible card back, even though I don't read with reversals. But that's just my favorite kind of card back. Okay, what else? I don't mind this one, though. This is Dark Angels. I like this as an image. I don't necessarily think it matches the deck that well, but I still like it. Yeah, I like Sacerdote. These are just the decks that I have right here in front of me. So anyway, I hope this was a fun. I'm sorry I don't remember I don't know who started this VR. It just showed up in my feed, and it was from a person that was already doing a VR to someone else. And so I don't know where it started, but I mean, hopefully I'll find out and it'll be in the title anyway. So thank you to whoever started this. This is a great idea. Deck delights and deterrents. I will show you guys my list because it's pretty uneven. My delights are 3 things, and then my deterrents are all these other things. But I tried to show you guys examples of things that of alternatives to my deterrents. Like I tried to show you my deterrent was written down as heteronormativity in the Two of Cups and Lovers, but then I showed you guys examples of Lovers cards and Two of Cups cards that I really do like. So anyway, this is a really fun project. So definitely get on this bandwagon if you're interested, because it was a lot of fun. And now I have to put all my decks back. Ugh. Okay.